I look at every video
We're back,
and I look at
folks.
content IDs as a product SKU, the same way I would if I was an Amazon seller. And I know that for Amazon sellers, and I know that it's also a similar free-base ID system, that classification matters, sorting matters, Harry Potter sorting hat. Am I giving a robot that doesn't understand nuance and context every opportunity to have some means of evaluating me, and like maybe it doesn't affect the view distribution system as much as it did for certain aspects of the algorithm, but I will almost guarantee you that it affects certain things with regard to monetization and classification for sorting inventory and matching you to ad revenue, because as an advertiser, I see the parallels of the fields that I fill out as an advertiser that parallel to the things that are in YouTube. And so I've also talked to Matt Geelan at length about this, and he even made a video. It was the video I wanted to make, but I'll probably do it anyway, where he talked about the fact that, I use tags to increase my CPMs, and that's why I get like 2-digit CPMs of $12 to $25 to $45 CPMs. So I don't believe that when YouTube says tags don't matter, they say don't matter as much as they did. Take it with a grain of salt, because they haven't told us how much they matter on a scale of 1 to 10 and what systems they matter to. So in context, there are multiple YouTube systems, and they haven't told us which ones it does or does not matter to.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, at the end of the day, especially what YouTube came out and said about it, it's more of a the way they phrased it was a bit odd, but it was more of a classification or an ordering of importance. You know, obviously your title and your thumbnail are the most important. But yeah, why wouldn't you give them, machine learning as much data as possible to let it do whatever analysis it has to do or classification like Roberto was talking about. It just makes sense. It's not, you obviously shouldn't be spending hours on it. Watch a couple videos and you can do it in 10 minutes and spend the rest of your time on the stuff that matters most.
Thank you for your time, Shelly. Salma Jaffrey about to join. And now joining us is Salma Jaffrey. Salma, thank you for joining. Daniel, do you want to talk about the topic?
Are we still on the same question here?
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys went deep with it. One thing I want to point out is when we talk about tags, I always want to make sure that we're saying the same thing, because there's tags that you can insert in your video that are actually tags, and then there's keyword tags that you're going to be using as metadata throughout your description and in your title. That's a different thing. So just be clear about what we're saying when we say tags. All of these things, I would add, all of these things are just there to help you get discovered. So when you say I've done all these things right and I'm not getting the views I think I should, or I'm not growing the way that I think I should, it really has to do with the fact that even if you do everything perfectly right and that you've got the greatest title in the world and you've got the greatest tags and you've got the greatest description, at the end of the day, that just gets your foot in the door for discovery. If people don't like your thumbnail or they don't like the way you put together your content or the target of the topic that you're talking about, if you're just not hitting it out of the park, it's like being the new bag of chips on a shelf and you're just not a very good bag of chips. It's just, you can get the right placement on YouTube, but that doesn't guarantee anything. The thing that YouTube is really going to put all of the value into is how well the audience responds to your content. And that's where you should put all your focus, because a magic tag, a magic title, there's not one thing that gets you there. It's your ability to constantly produce content that connects with a very specific target audience that you're trying to reach.
Could not disagree. So, you want to add on to this, Roberto?
I think that says it a lot. Something I would tell you is that regardless of what tool you're using,
yes,
here are 4 concise things that make a huge difference. I call this the ICED method. It's what I teach my coaching clients. Identify, clarify, engage, deliver. Identify who your target specific audience is, as Daniel said, and then clarify what your value is to them, point to what Dan was saying, and then you have to engage to also verify that that's accurate, and then you have to deliver, or rather over-deliver, on the value that was promised. The promise is made, promise is kept, and part of when you are clarifying, you're not just clarifying to the audience. Remember, the systems exist to serve the audience. Give them all the resources possible to clarify what you are. Do not let it guess.
I love that answer. I think that actually segues perfectly into our next question from the audience is, you all have very successful channels. How hard was it for you to find your voice in your niche?
Oh, can I do that one?
Yes.
All right. Hey, everybody. All right. So, oh my God. So, I actually put my first video on YouTube in 2009. That's exactly 10 years ago. And then I was so overwhelmed with the platform that I actually did nothing on it until 2015 again. So, was the question about how hard it was, right? So it was hard even in from 2015 to 2017 where I was very sporadic, and the reason that I was very sporadic was because I constantly second guessed myself and self-sabotaged myself that I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know if this is working, I don't know if anybody is interested, I don't know, and it was all so self-focused, it was all so selfish, it was all such internal dialogue, and I forgot at that point that I'm not supposed to be doing it for any immediate returns. I'm supposed to be doing it because this is important, because I want to share something, because I want to give value, because I want to have a voice, and that's it. When I realized that was in January 2017, that realization finally hit me, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter what the outcome is. I need to detach myself from the outcome. I need to just do the thing that I really want to do if I want to do it, and go for it, and go full time, and go deep, and go committed. And so it was really hard, and if second guessing yourself and sabotaging yourself is one of the reasons why it's hard for you, stop looking inside and stop thinking it's all about you, and just do the thing that you want to do. The results are going to come if the passion is there and if you really are committed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If nothing else, like one of the things that obviously people run into is like imposter syndrome, or trying to talk about a topic that they're not comfortable on. And I think that one of the things that's helpful is, rather than focusing on numbers and being discouraged that you're not getting views in a particular niche or the topic that you're talking about, focusing on that one individual or that persona of an individual that you can help. When you're sharing the content that you're passionate about, there's an audience out there for just about everybody. And think about the people who want to learn what you're sharing. If you're doing like educational content, think about the people who are a little bit farther back on the road than you are, rather than trying to, compare yourself to people who have been established. Whatever it is, your focus should be on how can you best communicate whatever it is that you're sharing with your audience. And don't focus on the fact that, hey, there's only 10 people in the room. Do the best you can with those 10 people and give them as much value as possible on whatever topic you choose to make content on.
You'll find your voice when you stop waiting to hear applause.
Can you applaud that?
I mean, you can, but it defeats my point. But it's like, you will find your voice when you stop waiting to hear applause. Because the reason a lot of you can't find your voice is you get discouraged, or you stop doing something when you think no one's watching and no one's listening. The people who are successful are working when nobody is watching. They do things when there's no applause, no kudos, no accolades. Your own parents, I'm sure, didn't get any applause for the hard work of raising you. They didn't get a salary for it. They certainly didn't get any compensation. They didn't get any ad revenue for it. They didn't get to do it for the clout, my friend. And they put in the work to get you where you are today. And I think that when you consider that, and again, why everyone complains about YouTube is hard, and this is why I lean into it, and it's not to hurt people's feelings, and it's not to be smug, or.
But I agree when people complain that YouTube is hard. It is hard.
Everything should be hard. Everything, YouTube.
Which is what makes it worth it.
YouTube should be hard. YouTube should be soul-crushingly hard.
We don't do YouTube because it's easy. We do it because it's rewarding, and anything worth effort takes time. I'm going away.
Like, I grew up in the world where social media didn't exist. I'm 35 years old. I grew up when social media didn't exist. I used to draw almost every day, and there was no audience. I didn't want people looking over my shoulders. If 5 people said, oh, that's cool, pat on the head, best day of my life, okay? I grew up in a world where there was no thumbs up, no likes to validate yourself. There was no way to be validated in your creativity. There was no support for in the 80s and 90s, to be a creative, to be an artist, to aspire to be an animator, a filmmaker, there was no support, there was no ecosystem, there was no hope of tens of thousands of people even potentially ever giving a crap about you. Ever. In your life. Even if you got a job in the industry. There was that is the reality of just not that long ago, before all of this opportunity existed. to still carve that out is easier than it has ever been in the existence of humanity, and people complain about how hard it is. And the thing is, to ask for 5 to 10 minutes of attention of someone's life should be hard, because that is 5 to 10 minutes they can give to themselves, to their family, to their spouse, to the pursuit of their craft, their own dreams and desires, and you want it for yourself.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but you better earn it, and you better be willing to earn it, and you better be willing to fight as hard as it takes and suffer through as hard as it takes. And if you get discouraged and you can't do it, you don't want it enough. And I'm sorry if that hurts, because I'll tell you, you know what hurts? You know what hurts? What hurts is literally going through the majority of your life being rejected and knowing that there is nothing for artists, there's no money in the arts, then you are told you are going to live in a cardboard box, and that you have to literally bet on and wait a decade for technology to catch up with your dreams, and none of you have to go through that. Not a single person in this live chat has to wait 10 more years for technology to come up with their to catch up with their dreams, because it's already here. It is already here. And I guarantee you, if your grandparents had the benefit of 30 years of youth and strength, and they had the opportunity to be on these platforms, they would kick your butt. They would kick your butt with their work ethic. You want to find your voice, stop waiting for applause. You want to find your voice, be willing to stand by yourself if that's what it takes. You want to find your voice, find 5 people to care about it, and realize that's a good day and that you're blessed. You want to find your voice.
So I realized 2 things.
Go in.
One, that I'm older than you.
Okay.
So 35, right?
We can have a contest.
So, yeah, definitely older. Definitely been there when
No
there
comment.
was nothing. And definitely been there when YouTube first started, and I had no idea what it was about or why. I was there when, obviously, we were all there when the internet started. But to the second point, which is that I grew up in a very conservative household, as well as a lot of
another
expectations and culture, where there are a lot of expectations which are always about, okay, how do you make your parents proud? How do you please? So it was all about, okay, what can I do to get that approval? And it was constant, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I doing this well enough? You know, and that, I guess, mental state or mindset is really hard to break from when you actually become an adult and you realize, you know what, you don't need approval. You don't need to live for anybody else. You've got to live for yourself. You've got to do these things for yourself.
1000%.
And it does not matter, your parents, your friends, everybody, it does not matter that if you get approval or not. I'm going to go on.
Your friendly neighborhood millennial here. People are, quote, saying, we want to know what the, quote, rocker dude thinks. So,
Rock on.
millennial out.
We need a good hair coat to start that
I
off
think
with.
I'm the oldest one on this panel, by the way, so I didn't want to hear about
Millennial
age
out.
jokes. I'm a simple guy, and I approach YouTube in a very simple way. My whole take on when you start thinking about how long did it take you to find your voice, or how hard is it to find your voice, I'm actually starting to lose my voice from talking so much today. I don't think it's about finding your voice. It's figuring out what the heck you want to say. If you can just figure out what it is you're trying to say and who you're trying to say it to, then the rest of the stuff kind of falls into place. Because I see so many creators that just have a very mixed message and don't know who they're addressing or don't really know who they're trying to reach. And it comes down to some very simple things. Figure out what your message is and who you're trying to send it to. And then you'll have a much easier time trying to develop that and learn how to do it better every time you upload a video. And that's as simple as that. I'm pretty straightforward. I don't have any stories of growing up in the tough neighborhood, or ethnically challenged, or well, I don't know. Look at me. I have a whole other host of problems that I'm dealing with as an adult.
Right on.
Yes, no baggage, basically.
I mean, I just wanted to make it real for people to understand that, like, dreams require work. They require sacrifice. They require a threshold of capacity for enduring hardship and suffering. I mean, one of the people here, Andrew Can, is one of the most motivational stories in our community in terms of somebody who's been through the ringer in life, and to persevere. If you are literally getting discouraged because of a lack of attention, I don't know, if you can't deal with the climb to that, I don't know that even if you succeeded beyond your wildest dreams, if you would have what it takes to endure success. If you think that the hardship of getting success is one thing, you would understand how hard it is to actually live with it. And that sounds like, oh, woe is you, or but I'm here and I have the privilege of knowing some of the most successful people in the industry, and
Well said.
the thing is, their problems and their struggles are just as real, and sometimes they're amplified by the fact that they know there will be no sympathy and no crying for them in their privileged position. And
I think people
that's
forget
really
that
hard.
at every stage of success, you are presented with a new set of problems.
It's literally
Agreed.
gaming.
Every stage of success,
The boss
as soon
levels
as
get
you start
harder.
making more money, as soon as you start getting more clients,
They tax
you
more.
are leveling up. Yes, there's taxes, there's you hiring a team, there's like other stuff that comes, logistics. there's
People
like
in your
growth.
business can rob you, and I've talked to creators
Yeah.
here that like you're like people have held their content for ransom as editors. I've talked to people, I've heard the nightmare stories.
There's
where
a whole
you're-
new set of problems that comes with every time you level up.
And
I've
I couldn't agree
experienced that personally as well, because every single time I've leveled up, it has actually been a period of very slow growth and almost like a decline for a
the
while.
boss levels are harder.
Well, I guess it goes to say, more money, more problems. However, we do have a fun question, and I think that's a nice little breath of fresh air from all the doom and gloom. Just joking, I understand everyone on this panel's opinion. So the question is, cake or pie?
Cake.
Ooh, that was quick.
I have a really boring and painful answer. Because I've been doing keto for 2 months, I don't get to do either one. But if I had to, it would probably be apple pie.
Both, because my metabolism is awesome.
Thanks, Roberto.
Beer.
Man. I think
Well
we
played,
know. I think we really do know who the rocker is in this group. All right, we do have a lot of questions, and this next one's a little more serious, and it is, I've found success, and my audience wants me for one thing. How do I balance being known for one thing and my desire to do more on the YouTube platform?
Can I take that one?
Yes.
Doing one thing is actually really productive. And sometimes I think what happens with creators is they get really wrapped up in the fact that they go, well, I don't want to be pigeonholed into this one thing. I want to push the walls out and learn how to, make my channel cover more things than I do. What you're going to find is as your channel starts to grow, there's going to be a time to start expanding and pushing the walls out. But if you look at any channel that started to grow well, it's usually because they started being very narrowly focused, serving one audience, and as that audience started becoming more invested in them as a presenter, then they could start taking more chances and doing more. I see so many creators like sabotage themselves because they feel like I need to reach so many more people. I'll just keep making a lot of different kinds of content, and what happens is your channel falls out of alignment because you're fragmenting that very audience. Someone like Brian G. Johnson, who we love Brian, but some of the most successful videos on his channel were iMovie tutorial channels. But nobody thinks of Brian as the iMovie guy because he used that to leverage that information to teach people something, get them invested in him, and when it was time, he started pushing out and showing them more. So it's all about timing. Just don't try to jump that shark before you're at that point where it's time to start pressing outward. Get your channel to where you want it to be. If you have a goal, if it's, I want to hit 50,000 subscribers and then I want to move forward, set a goal. Don't look at your channel and say, I've got 3,000 subscribers and I want to try to fragment
Daniel,
my audience.
a lot of people are going to be at this point where they're going to be thinking, okay, what's that point where you know you're successful and you can leverage that? Do you have like a benchmark
it all
for that?
depends on the type of channel. We know so many great creators who do really well. You can look at someone like Alex Guberman, who has E for Electric, who if you just looked at as his subscriber count, you'd go, well, his channel's not really big, but he's a full-time content creator and he owns the electric niche. So it depends on what your goals are, because there's goals behind the scenes. It's not just subscribers. It's not just views. A lot of the goals in here is we're trying to hit monetary goals. We're trying to reach a very specific audience. So there might be a channel that looks small to you, but behind the scenes might be doing all sorts of amazing things. So figure out what your channel's about and who you're trying to reach and what the goal is. Are you trying to generate revenue? Are you trying to generate income? And when you get to the point where you go, all right, I've hit that mark and I'm doing that successfully, then push a little more.
To that point, to add to that, I met a channel here with 2,100 subscribers, just 2,100 subscribers that makes $100,000 a year because it went into a specific niche around health and wellness, and everybody who watches that channel is trying to make a life change to save their life, and they're heavily invested in the products from the affiliate side and the things that that channel does. So even it's not even monetized, it doesn't even do ad revenue. It makes $100,000 all on affiliate sales of products, and not through Amazon, but like through high-end affiliate on things that are health-based, health and wellness, not supplements, but like green juice and like real stuff. And like, so it's all about the niche. There are low cap view subscriber niches with a lot of dollars behind them. The thing that I do and the thing I press out, and again, I'm like, I know I'm hitting people, but it's like a lot of people want to do these saturated generic niches that they think is cool or whatever, but it's like, but you cannot, it's not viable for 99.9% of people to make a living there. But if you want to have fun, do that, be a hobby creator. I'm 100% for you being a hobby creator if your goal is never to make money. And I'm all for doing what you want to do artistically and expressively if you never complain to me about growth. If you want to do you and just be cool with the 50 people that are about that, I love that. I wish more people would do it. But if you want to build a business, it will be about practicality. And if you're building a business, if you cannot saturate it with things, or you can't move to things that the audience didn't agree to, because you have to meet them halfway. And if it's about that, you have to deliver on the expectation of your customer. So if you made your channel about something, adding something else to it that no one asked for is a dangerous move if you are making this your livelihood. If you feel creatively limited, I would say, why are you shoehorning it into that YouTube channel because you just want the maximum audience? Why don't you start over with another channel or even another platform that plays to the strength of that or the culture of that and start over? Why? Because that sounds mentally challenging and emotionally difficult and you're looking for a shortcut. Shortcuts are how you get punched in the mouth. Shortcuts are how you get hurt. Don't take shortcuts. If you want acceptance on something new, be willing to start over and to build again with the knowledge that you have and to do that. Do not try to force it on an audience that came and signed up for a specific thing. Give people what they signed up for. If you ask them if they would like something else, you slow roll it in, you see how they feel, and if they tell you something, even if you don't like it, if you're going to continue to serve them and have expectations of them giving you what you need from them, then you're gonna have to meet them halfway and accept what they had to say. Like, it's like saying the customer is always right. Oh, really? Okay. Like, yeah, it's like saying the customer is always right. It's like you have to, if you set expectations, you have to deliver on those expectations. If you don't, then it's a you problem when you don't get what you need from people.
Can I add one thing to that? I love everything you just said there. Really simple. One thing you have to understand as a creator that I would add to what Roberto said is you make these videos and you're attached to every single one of them. But the reality is that even your most active subscribers have not seen all of your videos, period. There are very few channels where the subscribers have watched every single video. And because the goal of your channel is to be always reaching new people who have no idea who you are, you have to sort of understand that you might feel like you're doing repetitive content, but it's being served to new people all the time. Even some of your own subscribers are going to say, I've never seen the other video that was similar to this. So you want to figure out ways to work around those topics within your niche that connect with the target audience. And as long as it's connecting and making sense, keep making that content. Do what's right. Find the things that your channel shows you connects with your audience and do more of that.
Literally, the largest content creators that I've seen did exactly what Daniel is saying, is that they found what their audience liked. I mean, one of the things I tell people, I don't always take this advice, by the way, but like I tell people that if they ruthlessly eliminate the content that isn't performing, if they want to grow, even if they really, really love that content, if they want to grow, they might have to let that go to give the audience what they want. That feels like a compromise, but in exchange for growth or money or whatever you want, then compromises might happen creatively, because that's what happens when you turn creativity into a business, is compromises exist in business.
I think one of the compromises I made this year, for example, was not to focus on growth, but to focus on consolidation. So the content that I made was actually not for new subscribers, it was for existing subscribers, because I'm building up that know, like, trust, and then I have products which are coming out this year. So I'm completely focused, all of 2019 was focused on just speaking to the audience base that I already had. So it all depends what your goals are, and it's smart to set them I set them every 3 months and sort of reevaluate how they're performing, and if I'm comfortable with that or not. That seems like a good time frame for me if I want to switch, so I'm flexible that way. But for 2020, I'm also thinking about growth at this point. So I've got the consolidation, all the time that it takes to actually, build the back end of your business, build all the automation, build the products, build the digital offers. All of that was 2019 for me, and I knew that that's going to take away time from actually growing the channel. So what's going to be my focus? Is it growth or is it consolidation? So I chose to consolidate and not to focus on growth.
I did the same thing this year.
Right. So it's smart to know what you want, and then you can be like, okay, I'm fine if this is not happening because that's not my objective right now. So if you can just set goals for yourself that are realistic, really dig in on what you really want right now, what's going to make you feel successful. This is something I ask every single person who joins my Facebook group or who I work with. What does success look like to you? Name it, describe it, experience it, tell me how you feel. What does it actually look like? And that can change every couple of months, every year. Right? So you really need to be clear about what goals you want to achieve and then reverse engineer that process.
Dan, do you have anything you want to add?
I think they pretty much covered that one.
Well, with that, there is one thing I would like to quickly say. Thank you, everyone who's watching the second stream. We appreciate it for technical problems. My next question, and this will be our final question, but don't click away because I think it's one of the most important, is I have no way of knowing where to go for good feedback. Where do you guys go to trust for good feedback?
Where do I go for good feedback? I rely on other people in my niche. I go to my audience in terms of trying to understand what resonates with people. One of the things that I recently did is kind of reflect on the way I was presenting my content. Read a book called Start With Why that kind of helped me reframe what I was doing and, more importantly, understand why I was doing it. For that, I consulted with somebody in our niche, Daryl Eves, and got some feedback. I like to, every year or so, I like to get some reflection on what I'm doing and where I'm going and whether that meets my goals. And this time I wanted an outside opinion, so I went to a trusted person in my niche that had the experience and knowledge to share with me, and it really put me on a path to really plan the future, what we're going to do in 2020, and it not only that, but it makes future decisions that much easier, having done that. So for me, depending on what it is I'm trying to solve, if it's the direction of my content, there's so many great resources out there, and and then to double down on that, the feedback that I got from my audience when I started to make that shift was very noticeable and very frequent. So it helped me to understand that I was heading in the right direction.
When I need feedback, I go to Andrew Can.
Thank you.
No, I really do. A couple of years ago, in my entrepreneur journey, I actually reached out to a very good friend. I reached out to Amy Landino, and also I joined at the time. She had a membership group at the time, and I joined that membership group, and I got some feedback not only on my content, but my business, my marketing strategy, things that I was trying to do to make more revenue. And I found that to be very helpful because I was in a curated paid group. I was in Amy's group, and it was a paid membership group. Years later, I would start my own membership group to give other business owners and influencers an opportunity to find people who could give them feedback. And because there was a paywall, which a lot of people are discouraged by the idea of that, but it's like I knew that people were serious. I knew that people were invested, and I knew that I could trust them.
There are lots of things happening on different payment levels. So
Yeah.
there's you're going to find great memberships to join
Absolutely.
for like $29 a month. You're going to find masterminds for like $2,000 for a few months.
Yeah.
So, start with
Whatever's in your budget, yeah.
And if it's free, I would recommend Facebook groups.
I would to some extent, though. Some of that can be helpful. The free Facebook groups I found to be very spammy. That's why I paid to join Amy's.
Yeah,
Was I
but it
wanted to
depends
get away
which
from
ones,
yeah.
right? There are a handful which I have found super important and engaging to not just get that feedback, but to also build
Relationship,
sense of community,
yeah.
and find like-minded people.
What I've done for people that can't afford anything is I encourage people to join my Discord community. So like you can go to robertoblake.com/Discord and you can join our free Discord community. And we have like a feedback thread
And
and
as long
forum.
as you're
And
plugging that, I'm going to say join my Facebook group. It's free, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of great feedback happening
yeah,
there.
I mean if it's
so-
free, I don't think it's
Yeah.
a problem to plug anything. But for me though, and it depends on what level you're at. For me, because I'm also a business owner, I invested in a place where I could get feedback on things that were going to make me money. So I was willing to pay for that, and then for the sense of security of knowing that like these are people who are doing their own thing, they're gonna steal my ideas. So like that was part of it for me, was I felt safer in a community that had a mechanism to gate people, because I know there's a big concern about, well, if I open up, what will happen if I open up, and can I trust people? And for me, an investment creates a merit and a reason for that trust. So
You know, there are people in the chat saying that how do you figure out what to pay for and when to pay for? And I just want to say to that it's when it's you have to think about it when you're
Buying
ready
views from
to
a third
invest
party
in
is against
yourself
YouTube terms of service. Be
as
careful.
a person, as a business, is the time to start paying for something, because it's a mindset shift. You're like, no, right now I'm just, dabbling with this and I'm a hobbyist and I just want to take all the free stuff and see what I can do with that, which is fine. But when you make that switch in your mind and you're like, no, I'm what Stephen Pressfield calls turning pro. When you decide to turn pro, you go pro. You act like the professionals act, which is that they invest in themselves. They take themselves seriously. They know that they are the brand, they are the business, and how do you grow? You invest back into the thing that you want to grow. So when you have that shift going on in your mind, that's when you're going to be ready for actually paying for things, and very comfortable paying for things, because you're going to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start small, let's say $10, $5, $29, whatever, and then you use that experience to up level to whatever the next level of growth might look like for you.
I would probably add one thing to that. I'm a guy who spent money. I gave Brian G. Johnson money when I was really trying to find my focus. I just really couldn't seem to. I really need to learn what it was, the mechanism of YouTube and how it operated, and I didn't have a good handle on it. And I had a couple of options. I could sit and wait and work on it and have it come to me as I slowly learned, or I could reach out to someone who offered paid consulting to help me get it dialed in more quickly. But the biggest thing I would say is knowing when to pay. It's less about when to pay, and it's more about know what you're trying to purchase. Because if you just go to somebody and just reach out and say, I want to grow on YouTube, it's very hard to help you because you're asking this such a vague, unanswerable question. Have an idea of what it is you're trying to create, what your goals might want to be, what you're trying to achieve. And then if you don't know how to do that, find the people who can help you. There are phenomenal people out there. If you're looking to figure out how to create a channel and work on a marketing end, then you reach out to people like a Roberto Blake, or you reach out to an Owen Video, who do nothing but specialize in that kind of monetization, figuring out how to create revenue from YouTube channels and do things to really market your brand. For me, I needed focus, I needed to tackle YouTube and get it to make sense in my brain in a way that Brian was the perfect fit. So I was just a guy who was just starting out, and I said, I want some of your time. What does it cost? And that was the thing that got me going. But the thing was, I knew what I wanted to learn. I really wanted to understand how YouTube looked at creators and how it looked at viewers and what the entire mechanism was, so that I could run with that ball. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to get. I just wanted to make sure I was traveling the right path to get there.
Yeah, I mean, for me as an example, one of the biggest switches for me in terms of, hey, it's a hobby versus, hey, I can actually turn this into something, is when I first decided to make the investment and come to VidSummit. That was my first time where I'm like, yeah, it's time to try to take this to the next level. And once you do that, like Salma was saying, the shift in your brain, once you pay for something, you're not just going to let it slip because there was no penalty or no expense to you.
Skin in the game.
Right.
Absolutely.
Once you invest, then you are that much more motivated to make a return on that investment. And it really does, and it starts to level up. You invest, you reflect on what you learn by that investment, you apply that investment, which helps you make more, and that has been the case certainly for me since I first came to VidSummit, and I've continued to use the information each year to expand the return on that.
There's no return without investment, and you will invest time, money, and energy. The proportions and split on that are up to you, but it's going to come down to a combination of that, and you're going to have to figure it out. And my advice to you would be to just be very honest and self-aware of yourself, of like what you have to put into this and where you want it to go, And for some of you, you will be able to go pro. But for some of you, you have to be realistic about where you are and what you want and what your capabilities are, because if you can't go pro, it's not the end of the world. There are other things out there, and if you love creating, look, I spent more than 2 decades of my life not making money on the back end of creating, but it never stopped me because I couldn't breathe doing anything else. So you just have to figure out where you are and what you can live with.
And I'm sorry to cut you off there, Salma, but I want to bring up one important point. A lot of these people on the panel right now have free groups they're either in or a part of. We will make sure to include those if you're looking for a place to go. But remember, if you want to look for feedback, you must first give. If anything, a lot of people make the mistake of they want it, but they've done nothing to earn it. However, that being said, here at TubeBuddy, we have a brand new website called channelreviews.com, which is going to be a great progress report look at your YouTube channel. That being said, I would like to thank all of my panelists for joining us here today. Thank you, everyone who kept joining after the stream failed. I'm Andrew Can, your local young person, out.